Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to my afternoon news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. St. Anselm College poll shows Sanders, Biden in dead heat a week before New Hampshire primary. Buttigieg, Warren, Colenbolcher round out top 5. Take a look at this poll. This is the St. Anselm College poll. 491 registered voters, plus slash dash 4.4%. Bernie Sanders, 19%. Joe Biden, 19%. Pete Buttigieg, 14%. Elizabeth Warren, 11%. And Amy Colenbolcher, 11%. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are in a flat-footed tie for the lead in New Hampshire with a week to go until the first-in-the-nation primary, a new poll shows. The St. Anselm College Survey Center's latest survey of likely Democrat voters shows former Mayor Pete Buttigieg in third place with the margin of error of the top two, and Senator Elizabeth Warren slipping to fourth, and in a tie with Minnesota Senator Amy Colenbolcher. The poll results were Sanders and Biden at 19%, Buttigieg at 14%, and Warren and Colenbolcher at 11%. Results for the rest of the field were Tom Steyer at 5%, Andrew Yang at 4%, Tulsi Gabbard at 3%, and Michael Bloomberg at 2%, and Michael Bennet at less than 1%. The survey center said it polled 491 New Hampshire registered voters expressing an interest in voting in the Democratic presidential primary on Friday, February 11th, on Tuesday, February 11th. It said the interviews were conducted between January 29th and February 2nd, and it also said the poll has a margin of error of 4.4 percentage points. The Survey Center's previous poll, released in November, showed Buttigieg with a substantial lead over Biden and Warren, with Sanders in single digits at 9%. Sanders' rise is testament in part to the fact that hard campaigning in New Hampshire does persuade voters, said Neil Levin, poll director and New Hampshire Institute of Politics executive director. Although no campaign has been as effective at getting voters to events and at grassroots contact as Warren Sanders' campaign is close behind, with 12% of voters reporting meeting the candidate or attending an event. 56% report being conducted by Sanders' campaign either by phone or a door knock, Levinsky said. Levinsky added, by contrast, only 31% of voters have been conducted by the Biden campaign. The Sanders campaign hard work has given him momentum at the right time. The poll found that Sanders leads among men at 25%, among young voters at 18 to 34 at 38%, among those who describe themselves as very liberal 35%, voters with college degrees or less at 23%, and voters in the Seacoast region at 24%. Biden leads among women 19%, voters age 55 and over at 26%, self-described conservatives at 39%, people who describe themselves as somewhat liberal 20%, voters with advanced education with 21%, and voters in the Lakes region at 27%, and in the Merrimack Valley at 21%. The Survey Center said the poll found that Biden leads among voters when asked who would be the strongest nominee against President Donald Trump at 35%. And he said it is identified as the leader on the question of who would best unify the Democratic Party at 30%, and the nation at 25%. But the Survey Center said voters are divided on who would make the best president, with Sanders identified by 18%, Buttigieg identified by 17%, and Biden identified by 17%. Another potential significant finding, 69% of Sanders supporters said they are firmly committed to him, while 41% of the Biden supporters said they may change their minds. And that does it for my afternoon news report right here on the Riley King Network. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another news report. Goodbye, everyone.